Welcome, everyone, to Couch Potato Diary. We're back in the regular surroundings. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for joining today. As always, we're presented by Sea of Dead. We got the old school Sea of Dead sweater on right now. You can get some new ones over at seaofdead403.ca. So, this is going to be an episode that was kind of the initial vision, actually, of Couch Potato when we started it damn near 5 years ago. This is going to be an episode, calling it Diary Entries, where I just sat down, watched a bunch of stuff that happened, and going to give my thoughts on everything and kind of break it all down. So instead of big stories, big topics, whatever, this is more game by game, breaking it down. Just sat here on the couch all night and took some notes on it, and we'll get to a couple other newsy things if there's a little bit of time here at the end of the program. So that's what we're doing. As always, thank you so much for hanging out today. If you're listening in podcast form, make sure you hit that subscribe or follow and leave a review. That stuff really does help as we try to grow the program here. And if you are watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Hit like while you're there. Like the buttons are right there. Just do it. And we will be doing these live again soon. So hit that live button, or hit that notification bell, and you'll know when we go live. So all of that out of the way, let's get into it. The first one in a while. It was a wild night in the world of sports. The Blue Jays looking to bounce back from a devastating loss against the Colorado Rockies. The playoff race in the Eastern Conference in the National Hockey League going out of control. Some major happenings on a Tuesday night, and I sat down and watched it all. Here is your diary entry for March 31st. All right, the first page of the diary that we are going to be looking at is on the Toronto Blue Jays as they played the Colorado Rockies. And obviously, a lot of talk coming into this game about the Blue Jays pitching staff. And they had loaded up in the offseason and felt like they had pretty good depth. And then it got tested. And then it got tested some more. And now we're at a point, they have 4 starters. I don't know how we got there, but this was a big outing for Max Scherzer in this game to try to bounce back after the Ponce injury. Found out earlier in the day he went down with an ACL sprain. They are getting another opinion. His season is still in jeopardy, and just a devastating bit of news for him. But as far as the Blue Jays were concerned, the focus turned to Max Scherzer, who was excellent in this game. Got off to a really tidy start in the first inning. 1-2-3 gets the ground out from Castro, and you could just see early on, Scherzer understood what was needed of him in this game, understood the assignment, and went out and executed perfectly. You couldn't have asked for more. We'll talk about his game more and more as we go on, but just right from the early going, he knew length is going to be important. Let's not try to strike everybody out. Let's put the ball in play, trust one of the best defenses in baseball, and that's exactly what he did. I think it was a 12-pitch first inning, and that just kind of sets the tone for how deep he's going to be able to go into this ball game. But on the other side, the offense got off to a bit of a more difficult start for the Blue Jays. They had some troubles in this one early on. You look at the box score and you won't see it. But this was, it was just, it wasn't what you wanted from the Blue Jays. Again, early on in this one. A really nice breaking ball got George Springer to swing a little bit awkwardly. You had Sanchez with a big swing and a miss, 97, kind of blew that one right past him, and it was just another awkward swing. Vladdy up, hard hit ball to second base, nice sliding catch, ends the inning. Top half of the second inning, we're not going to go inning by inning here, but obviously I was geared up early on. But top of the second inning, Rumfield with a line drive into center field. We'll talk about him a little bit more as this one goes on, but this dude is having a series. And they talked him up on the Blue Jays broadcast on Monday about acquiring him from the Yankees, and they're really high on him. And this guy just doesn't get put out ever. He has an on-base percentage of 1,000, batting average of 1,000. He's just out there always. But a very impressive series for him continues. And then one of the bigger moments in this game, one day after Ponce goes down with an injury, this time it was Feltner, who takes a line drive right off the hip, 106 miles an hour off the bat. drills Feltner, and he finished the inning. Good for him. They were talking on the broadcast. He took a line drive off the head a few years ago, and pretty serious. So that had to bring back some memories that were not awesome for him. And the fact that he was able to finish the inning was great, but he wasn't able to finish this game. He gets pulled after that. So a tough one for him. And then to make matters worse, Jimenez gets on base, and then with the dude who has about a baseball-sized spot on his hip that's throbbing, Jimenez steals second. Pitch missed up and in. Really tough pitch for the catcher to throw on. Jimenez, good jump, gets there. Probably would have got there with a good throw too. But you had a runner at second, 2 out. Count was 3-1. And again, Springer goes down with another awkward chase. So just Feltner had the Blue Jays off balance here. Toronto, the bats would come around, but Feltner had the Jays a little bit uncomfortable, especially early on in this one. And I think that's going to get lost to time with this, but just something I wanted to kind of touch on with you guys here today. After this, you had... that didn't get out of the inning, sorry. After this, you get a pitch that misses outside, ball 4. Colorado challenges, call confirmed. So first and second, 2 out. Sanchez comes up, and he grounds out to first to end the inning. And this is where I think Sanchez has to learn a little bit. This is where the Blue Jays have let a few guys go, but I don't think Sanchez is in that circle of trust yet. Ernie Clement will swing at everything. That's fine. And Vlad, game 7, tie game, 9th inning, 3-0 and a pitch on the outside part of the plate. He swung, tried to pull it, flew out to center field. I really do wish that sometimes more guys paid attention to where they were in the count, but some dudes have earned that. Sanchez isn't that guy. And so in a spot where dude just took a line drive off the rump and now has walked Springer, frustrated by a challenge not going his way, if you want to swing in the first pitch, try to jump on him, fine, but it's got to be a good one, and instead it's a ground out to first base. And it's just those are the types of things that this team doesn't do. And Sanchez needs to kind of come around to that one. So bit of a frustrating one there as Colorado gets out of it. Scherzer, though, was excellent. Again, nice breaking ball, gets Tovar to strike out, mixing his stuff really well. He was hitting his spots perfectly and just mixing in the breaking ball well. Fastball, relatively overpowering, not what you would call blinding velocity in 2026. But when you mix it with the breaking ball that was really going in this game, sometimes down in the 70s, all of a sudden 93 is looking pretty hot. So he was mixing his pitches so effectively and hitting his spots perfectly. Just vintage Max Scherzer for 2026. Excellent work from him. But again, couldn't get Rumfeld out, who gets a bloop single to center field. This one, just great plate coverage from him. Fantastic hitter. Like, I'm going to gush about this guy all year. Not that I'm going to watch a ton of Rockies games the rest of the way, I don't think, but they got something pretty good in this kid. So after the line drive off Feltner, Mejia comes in. Vladdy waits on a 2-strike breaking ball and absolutely rips one in the left field for a single. And this is where, like, I get it's frustrating that Vladdy hasn't hit a home run yet, and this guy who is hitting extra bases in every game of the WBC isn't doing that in the regular season here in MLB, but he's on these. Like, that was 2 strikes. That is a guy who is locked in, waits on a breaking ball, and lasers one into the outfield for a hit. So the hits are going to come with him. He fought off a fastball the previous pitch that extends the AB, gets the breaking ball that he wants, and lights it up. Facing Mejia, who just has a ton of velocity that he can come out there with, has a pretty good breaking ball when he can control it. This was not one of those when he could control it days, but the fastball certainly will play with the Rockies. They got a ton of velocity coming out of the bullpen there. Okamoto saw a lot of it. 94 up and in on the hands, but he's able to foul that one off. Breaking ball low and away, 3-2. Again, a really sharp break, but it wasn't even close. And then 98, lower and outer part of the plate, hit hard right at McCarthy in left field for the out. Good swing, just went right at the guy. So again, Okamoto, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. One of the knocks on him was can't handle velocity. Handled it fine here, hit it right hard, or hit it really hard, just happened to be right at a dude. But you could see the velocity thing that people have been knocking him on, that's not really much of a concern at this point. And you saw in this at bat, Mejia, really good breaking ball when he can control it, but ahead in the count, trying to get a chase, the breaking pitch on the outside, it spent 0% of its life as a strike. Easy take for Okamoto. He ends up getting a hard hit, but ends up lining out to end the at-bat. Then Lucas hits a single up the middle, 96 miles an hour low, but again, tough pitch to hit, handles it well, and is able to drive that one pretty effectively. But then tough break for the Blue Jays. Clement line drive right back to Mejia, takes it himself, ends the inning. Couple hard hit balls. It was funny, that inning, the hardest hit balls of the inning were the Okamoto line drive to left field out, and Clement comebacker caught by the pitcher ends the inning. Like, it's just how it doesn't seem fair, really, and it just shows how baseball can be such a cruel sport. Blue Jays defense starts to shine then. There's runner at first base on the move. Karros rips one to short. I know Bo Bichette's having a bit of a tough time with the Mets right now, and we don't want to grave dance. I don't know if that play turns into one out in 2025, but Jimenez snags it and confidently goes to second base. They get the out there on the first double play. That is one where I don't know if a lot of shortstops even think about getting it to second base to turn two. It's just quick first base, whatever. Inning continues with now a runner in scoring position, but you have that great defense that the Blue Jays have, and I think it saved them in that particular case. I said it on Twitter, and I firmly believe it. That is not a double play last season for the Blue Jays, and it's this. Like, Jimenez is off to a great start with the bat, but it's the glove where you're really going to see how effective the Blue Jays can be without Bo Bichette, and where a bit of that replacing him comes a little bit easier. And then Scherzer gets the fly out to center field to end it. 5 shutout innings. Again, exactly what the Blue Jays needed after a lengthy bullpen day on Monday. Next inning, Dalton Varsho fights one off to go the other way to third base, beats out an infield single, had to shift over a little bit, and then he was able to fight it off and get there. They try to move the runner over. Heineman misses 2 bunts, and then he's able to get a single up the middle to get a threat going here for Toronto. And you kind of remember that Heineman was one of the leaders in WAR for the Blue Jays for a big chunk of last season because of not like... They're not sitting Kyle Raleigh because Alejandro Kirk is there. Like, Heineman is what he is, but he is really effective in that role. And again, just put the ball in play. Just so typical Blue Jay. He had another at-bat late in the game where just fights off some pitches, ends up getting a shot into the outfield for a base hit, couple hits for him, and just in the most Blue Jays way possible gets that going. But it gets a bit of a threat as Jimenez flew out to left field. Springer comes up and has a fantastic at-bat. Fights off 98, fights off 97, breaking ball low and away, and he's able to battle that one away. Fastball, 98 miles an hour, fouls it off. Breaking ball, low and away, walked him. Excellent AB for George Springer. So that's it for Mejia. In comes Jaden Hill to pitch with the bases loaded and 1 out. And Sanchez delivers. Gets the changeup, lower outer part of the plate, gets it for a single. Bases stay loaded with Heineman running from second base. But Sanchez, we talked about before, like, needed to wait for his pitch a little bit in the threat in the, second or third inning. This one he did. You know that he is a much better hitter on those pitches lower in the zone. We found that out about him very quickly in his time in Toronto. And he gets that pitch there, able to drive it. That is much more of what you want to see from him. That makes it 1-0. Vladdy walks. It's 2-0. Easy walk for him. Again, he's not driving it in the way that people want him to be, but productive at bats, able to get a run across there, and the Jays take the 2-0 lead. Okamoto goes down looking, challenged it, not the pitch that he should have been challenging on. Some frustration from some people that he didn't challenge in a spot a couple of days prior. This was not the time to do that. So didn't love that from a guy who's become a fan favorite early on in his time with the Blue Jays. And then Lucas strikes out to end the threat, but the Jays take the 2-0 lead. Colorado gets one back, home run from Goodman. But Max Scherzer ends up going about 6. Just everything you wanted from Max Scherzer, he gave you. That is exactly why you bring a guy like that in. Instead of just rolling with an Estrada or a Mac or going out and getting waiver claim X. Let's go out and get an established guy. Again, the Blue Jays showed last season how important every single one of these games is going to be. So you need to have guys out there that you trust. And in a spot like that, where a lot of teams, down to your 10th, 11th option in the starting rotation, a lot of teams would have a younger guy out there. Instead, you have a vet who understands what world we're living in right now from a Blue Jay standpoint, able to get into the sixth inning, get some depth out of his game, and save that bullpen as much as he could. Pro, vet, all of those things that you want from Max Scherzer, he was that in spades, and he was excellent on this day. So Mason Fluharty comes in instead, and again, impossible to get Rumfeld out. Another hit for this kid. Pitch low in the zone. His plate coverage is excellent. He can really drive the ball. A lot to like about him. They have a lot of lottery tickets in this lineup, but I think that's one that they're going to be hitting on here as the season goes on. Bit of danger for the Blue Jays. Fluharty gets a strikeout, but then a passed ball while Doyle is up gets Rumfield to second. Nice breaking ball gets Doyle to chase 3-2, and then one low and in gets him chasing. The breaking stuff was really working for Fluharty in this game. Pass him off to, or passes the ball off then to Fisher, who ends up getting out of the inning by not having to get anyone out at home plate because a perfect pickoff move gets Rumfeld at second to end the inning, and all the way around. Excellence, where Heidemann has to read it as the catcher behind home plate. Ernie has to be aware that is coming, and then it has to be a perfect throw, perfect tag from Fisher and from Clement, and the Blue Jays executed it. 10 out of 10, no notes. Again, the strong defense for the Blue Jays, saving them some runs, saving some mileage on some of their arms as well. Then the Blue Jays get a little bit of insurance as Okamoto absolutely rips one to left field. Fastball 95, able to get it down. Straw came into the game. He is able to score on it, and a huge bit of insurance for the Jays. Some quick hands at the plate from Okamoto. Again, handling that velocity very effectively. And this is something we maybe want to consider. I understand when you're making a $40 million investment or whatever it is, you want to make sure that it is as sure of a thing as possible. But maybe this is a reminder with him and with Murakami also, where we're talking about, wow, this guy just couldn't hit 95 at all, couldn't hit these things whatsoever. You're not dealing with as much as that, of that out in Japan, right? Like, obviously there are some guys who can throw very hard out there, but we've seen with all the Japanese pitchers that have come in, a lot more of it is about deception and the art of pitching rather than just rear back and fire 98 and blow that past you. Again, there is some of that out there, but if you're only dealing with that a few times a season, why are you going to be focusing your game on that instead of focusing on the other things? But you have professional hitters like Murakami, really good hitter in Japan. Okamoto, one of the better hitters in Japan for the last decade. So no, they haven't had to focus on 98. But now they know they have to. So they're working on it, and they're practicing, and hey, wouldn't you know it, that guys who've been able to turn themselves into good hitters for the entirety of their career now have a new challenge to face, and they're facing it effectively. It's almost like they're very good at this thing. So just something to remember maybe for next season. But Okamoto driving it in, Straw fantastic wheels to keep it going, and then just a Blue Jays inning develops, right? Lucas, line drive to right field for a hit. Vladdy comes in to score. The throw is cut off. Okamoto thrown out at third base, but good job by Lucas jumping on a first pitch fastball to kind of keep the line moving. Okamoto, they challenged it at third, and he's out. He called for the challenge earlier, and we didn't like it earlier in the game. And then he called to the dugout to challenge it at third base, and it was very obviously inconclusive. So I think Okamoto has kind of lost his challenge privileges for a little bit, right? Because he wasn't particularly close in either of them. So that may be something we just take out of his repertoire here for a little bit. But then Ernie Clement, very much like the home run that he had in the Yankees series, where it's just a pitch low and he's able to get some pretty good wood on it, and it just keeps going and going and going. This one didn't go out. This one hits the top of the wall, but Lucas is able to score, sitting on a breaking ball and able to really drive that for Ernie Clement. That made it 5-1 for the Blue Jays. They weren't able to score on another play here, but later on in the game, Miles Straw has a bloop into center field, and George Springer, again, veteran, professional, all the things you want to talk about with him. Excellent base running. He's able to take third. Straw is able to get to second. They intentionally log Vladdy to load the bases. Okamoto ends up not being able to do his thing, but again, it is Blue Jays baseball. Strong fundamentals. We've talked about that. They've run into some outs. Already this season, they've run into some outs. But that was one where obviously a lot of the work that they put in over the last couple of seasons pays off. Springer with a really good read. The play's happening in front of him as it's out to center field. He's at first base, so he gets a read on it right away that's probably going to drop. He's into third. Straw busting his ass out of the box. He's able to get to second. Jays again not able to capitalize, but again showing all the fundamental things that make this a very difficult team to play, whether it be in March, April, or October, and God willing, November. Ninth inning, Hoffman comes in to pitch, gets the ground out. Tovar gets a hit off of him, but after that, able to close the door. So maybe you don't love, when we're talking about too much work on guys in the bullpen, maybe you don't love Hoffman having to come in here and wasting some of those bullets, but didn't pitch in the game yesterday, obviously. You don't want him to go too long without getting any opportunities either. And this was a bit of a soft landing spot after how things went down in the first game of the season. He has pitched since then, but to just kind of get him in, get that confidence back, and get him rolling. So that was basically what this game was. Toronto was able to save a lot of the bullpen with some of the work that they did with Scherzer, Fluharty, Fisher, all throughout the night. Very, very good performance from the Blue Jays, and exactly what they needed. Some things to tighten up, but that's going to be basically every baseball game that happens. So some really good work from the Blue Jays, and they go on with a 5-1 win. So that is what I took from the Blue Jays game, but this was a multi-screen night. I know I do some stuff with 960 freelance-wise, so, it's going to sound like I'm kind of tooting horns here, but they have the multiplex thing. TSN calls it the multiplex, but they have the 4-box that you can put them in. Was working that tonight, and it was really fun, actually, to kind of get that going. So, yeah, the Blue Jays game had the most of my attention. I think you can tell that the rest of the way. So, all of these, it's not going to be as much of a rundown as everything as that one was, but just kind of what I saw throughout the night, shifting my attention on a few of these different things. So we're going to get to the hockey here in just a second, but I do want to remind you that Couch Potato Diary, if you're watching this, is a podcast. Search Couch Potato Diary on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your pods. Coming up on 1,000 episodes of Couch Potato in 5 years. So, would really help out if you could leave a review and hit that subscribe button so we can kind of keep growing the channel. The diary entries continue. Let's take a look at the Habs and the Tampa Bay Lightning game from Tuesday night. Picking this one up here, Tampa Bay on the power play. Montreal, some issues on the blue line, obviously with injuries and everything like that, and just issues on the blue line in general. Matheson ends up having a decent game here. They called up Xhekaj, not exactly in the circle of trust yet, as he basically didn't get a regular shift for the last part of this game. That the Habs were playing with 5D for a lot of this matchup, and that they handled things, I think, pretty well. On this penalty kill, did a good job cutting off the entry here for Tampa Bay, forcing them to come back, but then Nikita Kucherov. And look, I am guilty of it too. It's wild that a guy can be this good, and there are still parts of his game that I underrate, but his playmaking and his hands are just incredible. And you see it on the zone entry here. Makes a really nice move on the rush. He ends up getting the chance that stop, and then Point races in. Good puck retrieval. He stopped as well. Montreal is able to clear. Kucherov, another really good entry, getting the opportunity. And it's just time after time, you see how incredible this guy is. And talked about this last week. This Tampa Bay team is ready for the playoffs. This result didn't go their way, but this is a great hockey team. When you see the effort and the commitment to winning that their top players have, and you saw it in this one with Kucherov, Point, Hagel as well, all the guys are really there. Also, I was unaware of the blood rivalry that Montreal and Tampa Bay had, because this game got nasty at some points. But back to the game. Point, really good chance on a one-timer. That was stopped. Kucherov had an open net, missed it, just kind of fanned on it, but stayed scoreless. Lane Hudson, they made a big deal on the broadcast that he was getting a penalty kill shift, made a good play to break up a chance, and then immediately rushed it up ice, looking for a chance, passed to Deneau, didn't quite hit his stick, but you like to see Hudson getting that opportunity, breaks up a chance for Hagel in front, a little bit more growth from the young defenseman who's going to be put in some bigger roles now. Ottawa's defense didn't handle the bigger roles tonight as they got thumped by the Florida Panthers. But so you like to see him kind of adjusting to that bigger role and really starting to thrive, and it's some good work there. Later on, Dobish really good save on Yanni Gourde, and this was probably the end of the regular night for Arbor Xhekaj, as he didn't handle that rush well at all. Ended up getting a little bit too wide, and all of a sudden there's a great chance right in front. Dobeš makes the save. He was fantastic in this game, and I think that's the biggest takeaway. We're going to break down more of it. That the biggest takeaway for me in this game is if they get goaltending like that, this team can win the Stanley Cup. Like, that's the rest of the team is good. I love the blue line. Talked for 2 years about how much I like this forward group. The goaltending has been a bit of a problem for this team this season. And I'm not saying Dobeš is going to be that locked in for 2 months, but if he is, this team's getting their name engraved on a trophy at the end of it. And I'm throwing pen save where I'm so excited. But it really was that good of a performance for Montreal in goal in this one. And they would end up giving him a bit of support. Game tied at 1. Cole Caulfield gets his first career goal against Andrei Vasilevskiy. Slafkovsky, though, sets it all up. Really strong rush. And again, like, you see this dude, sizable kid, and he's out there racing up the ice. A perfect pass to Caulfield, puts it into the wide open net. Tampa Bay, a rare miscue for them. 3 guys all focused on Slafkovsky, and then a 4th being the goalie. And they just left Cole Caulfield in his 40, now 7 goals, sitting at the side of the net, wide open for the tap-in. But Slafkovsky, that fantastic Olympics that he had, carrying over into this one, some great skating and a really good pass sets up a nice tap-in goal there for this team. Nikita Kucherov with a really good feed to point behind the defense. Again, Dobeš on fire, makes a great save. And then after that, everyone just punched each other for the rest of the game. It was just scrum after scrum. And then there would be scrums within the scrums, and they would turn into bigger scrums. This was like playoff intensity. This game had it. And I try to not say that about hockey in the regular season because it's a different sport. This one was different. This one felt like that playoff type intensity, and it got ugly. And then a really big one breaks out because Evans nails Kucherov from behind. It looked a bit nasty in real time, and it sucks because it is Kucherov going headlong into the boards. I believe he was all right. I haven't checked anything since, but there isn't like that big like from Evans, and Kucherov absolutely turns into it. Like when you watch it in slow motion, when you watch it in real time, but you watch it in slow motion, you can really see like Kucherov. It's almost like he was like setting it up for it. Like it was a video game animation for a hit from behind. Like he just turned into it perfectly and got drilled. And when I say perfectly, I mean the opposite of that because that fucking sucks. But They called it a major initially so they could go over it, review it. I think the right call was made. If you would have given him 5, you wouldn't have got a ton of argument from me. Habs fans would have been pissed. But I think 2 was probably the right call on this one. They're able to kill it off, and Matheson gets the empty netter for a 2-point game. And then Suzuki, Tampa Bay kept the net empty. Suzuki on a 3-on-1 just shoots and scores himself. Mike Johnston, who's on the color commentary, did the color for the Olympics for the Canadian broadcast. Not livid in like a real way, but he's like, pass it to Slafkovsky, to Caulfield, like just yelling, like, pass it. What are you doing? This guy's going for 50. Let's give him a gimme here. But Suzuki scores and then basically apologizes to Caulfield after for just like, yeah, sorry, man, we're just trying to win the game here. But no issue from Caulfield. Very impressive win for Montreal. They lock it down 4-1, ends up being the final. And just a nice reminder, again, when this team gets the goaltending, they can compete for a Stanley Cup. That's how good I think this team is. And you saw it in this one. The top players being the top players. Young defensemen stepping into roles they're not comfortable with and thriving in those spots. And then Dobeš was everything that this team needs between the pipes. And that is one of the best teams in the NHL that not only did they hang with, but that they beat 4-1, 2 empty netters. But it was a playoff type of a game against a Stanley Cup contender, and Montreal comes out on top. That this is a huge, huge night for them. Given what happened with Buffalo, as of right now, this is a playoff preview. Give me 7 of these. Absolutely. Talking about Buffalo, they were taking on the Islanders in a huge game for those two teams. Starts off pretty quick with an Islanders penalty. Buffalo gets to work on the power play. Islanders have a really good penalty kill, and I was going to say it showed here. It kind of showed that a lot of that's the goalie. Buffalo did a really good job of getting after it, and it is the thing that you like about power plays like this. There's a ton of talent. They could work it around a little bit. Colorado kind of got caught up in this in the beginning of the season where there's a lot of dudes out there. And so you're trying to, okay, let's get the perfect shot. Buffalo, it's like one touch to the net, next putt to the net, right to the net. Everything is just focused on, we are not, like, we can't go 2 touches without this thing getting toward the front of the net, and they end up getting a couple of good chances on it. Thompson, from the goal line, tries to kind of drag it across, get it to his forehand. Couldn't quite do it, gets poked away and cleared. Then they're trying to get a bit of his own entry, and it's a heck of a play in lacrosse. But Norris is called for a screen, absolutely running over Schaefer, kind of kills that power play chance. Islanders get a pretty good setup on the 4-on-4. Then they get to the power play. Islanders have the 30th ranked power play. They said this on the broadcast. I kind of want to check this now because I basically don't believe it with how good Schaefer has been this season to see where they're at. On the power play here. So just, yeah, they are 17%, 30th in the NHL this season. That surprises me with Schaefer up there and some of the offensive talent that they have. Again, not a team known for goal scoring, but you thought they'd be a bit better there. Buffalo killed it off, though. They were really good. A couple little oopsies for the Islanders. Sorokin nearly turns it over, but they're able to kind of save it on that. And then McLean takes a penalty battling in the corner. So just a couple of penalties that are just like in the heat of the moment, hurting the Islanders in this one. But they end up getting a good chance. Horvat, shorthanded chance on the rush. That ends up getting stopped. Buffalo, nice chance in the bumper spot. Shot ends up just missing. McLeod had a really good deflection. Sorokin strong on that one, and they're able to clear. So, again, just a constant pressure from Buffalo's power play that you love to see out of that. Undersley gets a penalty shot chance. That one gets stopped as well. Third period, we miss a couple of goals here. Then third period, Lee and Carrick get into a fight, and I was really worried because I saw that they were fighting and just like, oh, fight, okay. And then Lee's on his way to the penalty box, and Carrick is down, and just the way he's laying on his back and he's writhing in pain, and the way he's laying, he just opens his hip a little, and so there's a trainer there, and then his foot's sideways. I was like, oh my gosh, did we have like Joe Theismann, whatever, for wrestling fans, Psycho said, did we have like a weird leg break thing happen? Turns out no, it's just the way he was laying. But that was my initial thought, like, oh my god, this is going to be awful. Did he just like get knocked out and just like fold, and that fold stayed folded? Not the case. In some discomfort still was Carrick heading off, but under his own power. So really good there. Close game, 3 minutes to go. Peyton Krebs ends up getting the goal, but this one all set up by Alex Tuck. Again, kind of the theme of the overall day. We talked about it in the baseball breakdown with the veterans stepping up in moments that you need them to. Well, that was baseball game number 5. We're talking about hockey game like 75 for these teams, and you can see Tuck steps up in a big-time way here, and just a little bit of inexperience from the Islanders. Tuck gets a pretty good rush over on, that would be the left wing side for Buffalo, and he's driving down to the net. 3 Islanders kind of go with him. As he's circling around, he uses the net to kind of take away from a couple of them, and they all just stop dead and are following him. No one thinks, hey, this guy just went on a rush, but now he's circling the net. Mayhaps someone else is coming from behind us, and he's able to slide it through 3 guys. Right on the doorstep is Krebs, and he's able to get the goal. 11 on the season for him, but really tough. Small little defensive breakdown, but we're seeing in the NHL night in, night out, how close all these teams are. Just those little breakdowns are enough to end up hurting you, and it did here. So a tough one for the New York Islanders as they end up falling in this one. Empty net. Samuelson throws a really big hit. Byram's able to get it, and just a perfectly placed one. This is going to resonate with 2 people, but NHL 99, if you put shot aim on manual, you could come right down the middle, just tap the space bar, and the puck would fly up over the goalie and into the back of the net. Like, it was the Family Guy basketball corner 3. It was that, but in hockey sense. That's what this was. That there was Horvat had broken his stick on the face-off, so he rushed back to the bench, got his stick, and was coming out and tried to knock it down, and it, like a movie, just out of his reach into the back of the net. Byram with 11 on the season. Buffalo Sabres have their first 100-point season since 2010 with a big win here. Tough one for the Islanders, again, given the result that we're going to talk about here in just a second. Massive win for Buffalo, getting some space from the Tampa Bay Lightning, and could lock in that, not lock in, but now in first place in the Atlantic Division. I wouldn't want to face Tampa Bay or Montreal in the first round of the playoff. I know the wild card team is going to be very well tested. This could be a matchup in the first round of the playoffs. But Buffalo, chance to get home ice throughout the Atlantic portion of the bracket anyway. Really important for them. And just a phenomenal turnaround for the Sabres there. Penguins, Red Wings, don't have to talk about this one a ton. It was all Penguins. Rickard Rakell gets a goal top shelf. The Sportsnet, whatever, had the Detroit feed, and God bless Homer announcers, because the color commentator was just disgusted with what was happening. It's like, oh, look at that. Like, you just got two guys battling for the puck, couldn't do anything, and then Rakell, just a perfect shot, and they're down early. But that's kind of what happened. Detroit did a really good job of cutting off the zone entry. It was Crosby coming in over on the left wing side. Detroit did a good job of cutting off that entry. We've talked on here before. This is a very complex sport that can get very simple. You win the neutral zone, you win these games. There was no winning of the neutral zone for Detroit. But in this one, they did. They had slowed up the entry a little bit. They took the guy down. I think it was Falk who ended up getting that check, but they weren't able to get the puck out of it. Two defenders were there. They had stopped them cold. Nothing should have happened for the rest of the shift except for the puck going that way. Instead, Crosby is able to come out with it, gets it to Rakell. There are two guys who have already been engaged in the battle over on the wall. So Rakell has it. From the circle, shoots, it deflects. I believe it hit off of Seider's stick and went into the net. Either way, just a great shot nonetheless. Rakell's got 20. He's got 6 in his last 5. Excellent work there from Pittsburgh, but just kind of showed how this game was going to go. They had another good chance off of the wall almost immediately after that. That one was stopped. Rakell had a really nice move to get in front. That one stopped as well. And this team was just flying. And then you could see this is where Detroit kind of got beat a little bit, and you could see just Pittsburgh had that extra gear that you need this time of year. Anthony Mantha, first chance is stopped. Rust is stopped. Malkin is stopped. Mantha stopped. They're all digging for it. The puck comes out, and Mantha scores. Just horrendous net front coverage from Detroit. Gibson is down in a split, trying desperately to hold on to the post, hold on to the puck, and just keep it out. And they're digging, and they're crashing, and they're banging, and they're allowed to, and just no Red Wings are clearing the front of the net at all. They looked like the putty patrol in Power Rangers, where they're just trying to run in and bouncing off of guys and flying back, and then, a bit exaggerated, then the puck comes out, and Mantha scores. Just a really, really bad example of defense from the Red Wings. They hung Gibson out to dry. You cannot have stuff like that happen in this one, but I think it just showed the level of above that the Penguins were from the Red Wings here, coming off of a big win against the Islanders the other night. 2-0 there. Chinnikov gets one off the rush that makes it 3-0, deflected in off of Seider. It's kind of a nothing shot, just like a wasted get it on net thing, but it ends up hitting Seider's stick on the way, takes a bit of a left turn, and heads into the net. It's 3-0. Talbot comes in for the second period. Gibson gets pulled. At the point of the 3-0, Pittsburgh's out shooting Detroit 14-5. Now, Detroit able to get one back. Face-off win on a power play. You don't love this from the Penguins. Face-off win, and Kane has the whole, I guess, right side of the offensive zone to himself. And he's just able to wait, shoot, and it stopped, but rebound, Larkin is there and scores. So not the best coverage off of a face-off there for Pittsburgh. Kane now has 14 points in his last 12 games, 30 on the year for Larkin, 12th on the power play. You thought maybe this could give Detroit some life. Pittsburgh scores right after that, and it's curtains from there. So again, the Penguins, we're trying to find these teams in the East who are going to separate. And the Penguins look like they could be that team with a couple of very good performances here right away. Just a couple quick notes. Hurricanes against the Blue Jackets. Greaves was excellent. So sharp in this one. There was a chance. Stankoven had the shot. Blake with a redirect. He ends up having to make a really good save on that deflection. Columbus, this was... We see where there's levels in this. It's been a great story for the Blue Jackets being this close to a playoff spot. But anything they tried, Carolina was smothering. Like, you could really start to see that Rob Brindamore playoff brand of hockey coming out. And then they wait for one mistake, and they capitalize. And the mistake happens. Fabro loses his stick. Some really good control in the zone. And then everything goes right to the front of the net. Stahl has the high screen. Martinuk has a very good screen to the point where it got challenged. And Ehlers' long shot goes in. They challenged it. It stood. It's not a bad challenge for Columbus. You could see why. Martinook was right in front. And as he is going through the crease from the overhead look, I don't think he actually made contact with it. I think it's just because Greaves is kind of drifting that way to try this, to see the shot anyway, and then has to move there to make that save. But it all syncs up as Martinook's coming across that it kind of looks like he maybe kicked his leg out just a touch. I think the right call was made. I think it should have stood, absolutely. But it was a worthwhile challenge for Columbus, but it puts them shorthanded again, and it ends up with a power play goal for Carolina. Svechnikov one-timer was perfect, and that's all she wrote. Carolina, they're looking good. Maybe Ehlers can be that missing piece that they've had over the last couple seasons, but I think this did kind of show that Columbus, it's been awesome, and you love a lot of the future pieces that they have, but they're not there yet, and Carolina kind of showed that. Last one here, real quick. Watched a bit of the Raptor game, but it got out of hand pretty quickly, especially by the time that the hockey and everything was kind of winding down. Couple nice plays. Hearing a lot of talk about Scotty Barnes stepping his game up lately. He went down pretty hard in this game. Looked like he was all right, but made a really nice pass to Pirtle, who ends up getting a lay-in. It was a 4-point game close to the end of the half. Raptors just couldn't get a stop in this one. They were getting killed, especially on the interior defensively. It's a really frustrating outcome for the Raptors, given Cade Cunningham's out. They just had a great showing against the Magic, trying to create some different distance between themselves and the play-in. But defensively, they just weren't there. But really like this action that they ran late. Barnes brings it up, and they're setting up for last shot. RJ Barrett comes out to initiate the screen, so he's the roll guy coming down. The two... Like, his defender leaks off of him. They both go and try to double Scotty. Makes a good pass over to RJ. He's one-on-one down on the block with Duran, and he ends up getting the layup to go and the N1. It was a 2-point game at that point, or a 1-point game at that point. Jenkins hits the buzzer beater to close out the half, and then it's just curtains from there. Raptors defense just not good enough, especially on the interior, and Scotty had some moments. RJ was really good in the first half, but there just wasn't enough from some of the other guys. Need Ingram to show up more in this game when it's mattering. Need anyone to show up defensively, but a very frustrating loss for the Raptors again against the Detroit Pistons. So that's the diary entry. If we're going to make this more regular, I'm going to have to figure out how to pronounce it. I understand it. But let me know what you guys think. Do you want more breakdowns like this? Anything you'd like me to tweak with breakdowns like this? Let me know in the comments. Or if you are listening to this in podcast form, hit me up on social media. I am at Primetime Klein on Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky. Just a couple news and notes things before we put a bow on this here today. First, let's get into a couple marquee firings in the National Hockey League. So, the Vegas Golden Knights have fired Bruce Cassidy. Obviously, like, this is looking to spark a team in a playoff race, right? Like, this is a team that has struggled. Bruce Cassidy, good coach, but not getting the results that they need. A lot of this comes down to the goaltending hasn't been good enough out in Vegas this season. Torts has a defensive style that can at least protect against that, you would assume. He's not necessarily the guy who's going to come in and spark the offense, but defensively can maybe shell up a couple of other things and just a different voice. I was going to say a more motivating voice. That's not necessarily the case. Bruce Cassidy can be a bit of a hard ass too, but tactically, there was nothing tactically that they're doing here. They are just trying to wake this team up a little bit to get them rolling here into the postseason. One thing with this, I think at some point we have to look at roster construction out in Vegas. And yes, they have done unbelievable work in acquiring high-level talent, managing the salary cap so they can keep acquiring high-level talent. But the thing that got them to the dance initially was just 1 through 4, this forward group had speed and pace and could attack, and they had a defense that was solid. Now, it is stars and scrubs, and that's a bit dismissive of some of the other guys. But aside from Stone, Eichel, Marner, Dorofeev, no one else is doing anything offensively for this group. It was the problem last year. They weren't able to address it this year. They have been able to piece together goaltending pretty effectively. The Rasmus Anderson trade has not worked. And so, yes, they have done unbelievable to acquire Eichel and get Marner and continue to kind of roll on. And Shea Theodore looks great and all of those sorts of things. But it's getting a little Edmonton and it's getting a little Toronto, where it's too top heavy and the rest of the lineup isn't great. And so now you're going up against teams that are a little bit more deep and can compete with you in that way. Like, cool. You have a really good top line. If you would like a Stone, Eichel, Marner, however you want to throw that, that's fine. If I'm Colorado, it's like, okay, well, we'll put McKinnon against that group and we'll still probably win that. But even if we want to call that a wash, we got Kadri, we got Landeskog, we got Nelson, we got Roy, for the next group, and you have, So I don't think this has been as well a constructed team as we have seen from Vegas before, and I think that is costing them here, and it ends up costing their coach the job. But I do think that that's something that just needs to be focused on just a little bit more as we kind of talk about the Vegas Golden Knights into the future. The other big news from the NHL: Brad Treliving fired as the head coach of as the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. You could see this one coming. I've talked about this in a couple of different spots. I do think 3 years, given that they're trying to turn things around and trying to fix a playoff mentality and a locker room culture and this, that, and the other thing, 3 years is a bit tight a turn to do that. So on the one hand, I don't know, just in a vacuum of 3 years is enough time. On the other hand, I don't think you've seen one moment from Brad Treliving that makes you think that he's the guy to fix this. So you can say, yeah, he didn't get a long time, but he was able to unequivocally show in that short amount of time that he was not the right guy to get this thing back on track. So the right move was made for Toronto. Seeing a lot of people dunking on the press conference today. Keith Pelly, I'm never gonna get on a guy for being honest, and he was upfront. He was honest about a lot of it out there in Toronto. The thing that I think Leaf fans can feel good about, and there isn't a ton coming out of that. I know a lot of people want them to blow it up. That's obviously not happening. I know there's not a lot of trust there right now. But the one thing we have seen other owners, chair people, whatever, the people in Keith Pelly's position before say, well, no, I've run business X into being $1 billion, whatever the hell. And so I know what I'm doing. We have this on lockdown. Pelly almost should have hit it better, but was very upfront with like, yo, I don't know what the fuck's happening, all right? Montreal didn't see it coming. Apparently didn't watch them against Washington in the playoffs last year. Buffalo, never heard of her. Who saw that coming? He is at least self-aware enough to understand what he is and what he isn't. And I think while you wish that maybe he was a little bit more, especially when he's making these decisions and all of that to begin with, but he recognizes the hockey thing, that ain't his thing. So he's going to bring in people who are. And we have seen owners at times be like, no, I know what I'm doing. I've watched hockey before. How hard could this be? I'm going to fix it myself. He's just going to be like, yo, I don't know what's going on here. So we're going to get someone who can, and we're going to fix this thing. So you hope he has the right people around him. These are really important hires for the Maple Leafs. And I say hires. I think it has to be president, it has to be a GM. I know that the Blue Jays run is very recent, and so there's some of that, but I'm not even saying like Shapiro and Atkins per se. I'm just saying I think Toronto needs to have a president who can come in and deal with the alumni situation. Deal with, okay, we need to get this figured out and that figured out. Let's just let the GM focus on the hockey thing, and we'll focus on this, that, and the other thing. The Blue Jays, I didn't always love who was doing it, but I do think that is kind of the blueprint for get a president in who can focus on a lot of the minutia that you shouldn't have to deal with, but some general managers do. And now let's just get a GM who can come in here and work on the hockey stuff. So I think that's going to be kind of the setup out there in Toronto, and I think it really should be. But I do think at least the silver lining is that Pelly and co. at least know where their weaknesses are. So you wish they weren't weaknesses, but at least they're aware enough that they're going to try to bring in some people who can balance it off instead of, oh no, we know what we're doing, and then you're the Canucks or the Flames. So at least there's that. That's going to do it for Couch Potato Diary. Thank you so much for hanging out today. Like I said, this was kind of the vision coming in when we started this thing 5 years ago. I would love to do it a little bit more. Let me know what you guys think in the comments or on social media. I'm at Primetime Klein on Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky. If you are watching this, but want to bring it with you wherever you go, check us out in podcast form. Search Couch Potato Diary on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your pods. And while you're watching this, again, let me know in the comments. What did you think about the format, about some of the stuff I said? Let's keep the conversation going down there. And then, again, like, subscribe, share this video with your friends. Really does help as we try to grow this thing. And if you're listening in podcast form, hit that subscribe button, leave a review. Again, trying to grow, and it certainly would help out a lot. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Cat food's going off, so I got to get out of here before my cat breaks the door down. Thank you guys so much, and have a great rest of your evening.